And on the 14th day, God said, "Let there be cat girls."
Did you grow up in an unstable home? Were you never taught the valuable lesson of being able to say no to people? Now in your adulthood, would you like to wildly swing in the other direction and take control of your life? Well then you're a perfect candidate for Y'shtola Knights Blessed, or as we're gonna call it today, Kitty Cat Control. So you wanna learn how to play Y'shtola Knights Blessed CDH. Well, in reality, you really wanted to play a cool cat girl warlock, but this is a nice option too. So Kitty Cat Control is a couple of things. We have some infinite combos here that use Y'shtola as a way to drain the table. But out of my 15 games and 6 wins, 2 of the wins weren't with an infinite combo, or even with Thoracle. I actually drained the table of their life using other parts of this deck. There's lots of spice to be said, but let's be honest about one particular thing. Is Y'shtola really better than other Esper decks? It's not a better value engine than Tivit. It's not a better combo than Tivit. It's not as fast or versatile as Noctis. It doesn't grind as hard as Tim to Malcolm. So why would you play Y'shtola? It's actually somewhat unique. So out of the 15 games I played with Y'shtola, they were only killed once, and it was by a sweeper. No one cares if you have this commander out. No one sees the value in it. They're like, oh no, at a huge amount of work, you get to draw a card at end step, and then they don't see all the amazing value possible with this. So let me clue you in. First off, this is a control shell. We are playing Esper Control. The reason we need to play Control and it's good for this list is we will drain the table while controlling it. We will consistently gain value within the Esper combo colors, and then Y'shtola not being removed means we have access to a lot of things that regularly need your commander out to be useful. Obviously, Fierce Guardianship, Deadly Rollick, and a couple other things too. So the idea is you get to stare at the cat girl the entire time. It's gonna stay on your board. And then within that, you're gonna be able to control the game and then reap value. But again, why is it better than all these other commanders? It's not, it's different. And it might be the way you want to play the game. And that's what's important. If there is a style of play that you are best at, Y'shtola might be that, or you might want to adopt it. So let me teach you how to play the deck. First, let's just get the combos down. Let's show you what the important pieces are, and then we'll parse through it. The first one is Teferi and Displacer Kitten. First, Teferi locks our opponents from disturbing us because they can only cast at sorcery speed. Then we cast our Displacer Kitten. Then we bounce any mana rock with Teferi, ones that make enough mana to pay for themselves. Bouncing it draws us a card. And then when we replay it, this will trigger Displacer Kitten. Displacer Kitten triggers will then target Teferi, blinking him, allowing us to use his ability again. This goes infinite, it draws our deck, and then we can infinitely replay any non-creature spell 3 CMC or higher in order to bleed out the table. Yeah, the second line of text Y'shtola, anytime you cast a non-creature spell 3 CMC or higher, you drain the table for 2 life. 3 of my wins with this deck were infinitely replaying the One Ring. It's a win con. And then our value grind combo, Bloodchief's Ascension and Mnemonic Betrayal. So why is this better in this deck than other decks? Well, Y'shtola allows us to constantly trigger Bloodchief's Ascension while controlling the game. A lot of our counter spells that we end up playing for free trigger Y'shtola, allowing us to put counters onto Bloodchief's Ascension. When Bloodchief's Ascension achieves 3 counters, it now gains the ability that whenever a card enters a graveyard, our opponents are drained for 2 life. Then in a long game where we've been countering things for a long time, Bloodchief's Ascension has gotten counters, we've been hitting everyone with Y'shtola's ability and the fact that she can still swing and has vigilance, we cast Meme Bet when everyone's around 20 life, and as long as everyone has around 10 cards in their deck, you won the game. Because when Mnemonic Betrayal is done resolving and it goes to end step, all those cards return to their graveyards, meaning 10 or more cards just went into graveyards, triggering Bloodchief's Ascension. That's how I won 2 of my games. The games go long, you grind value, you constantly counter things that try to win the game, and then you get to a point where you can just drain the table. Now there are other ways to win with the deck. Obviously we do have Thoracle, and I've actually technically put in Breach. The Breach lines are in here, but instead of an Underworld Breach, we have Raider's Grasp. There's always going to be an Underworld Breach at the table, and you can always steal it. Or use this as a backup for something you do need, like if someone exiles your Thassa's Oracle. But do not worry, this isn't all the spice the deck has to offer. We got lots more to cover. So before we go into mulligans and how to play the deck fully, let's go over every section. First, Planeswalker. So as we covered, Teferi is the A plus B in a combo to completely draw our library and gain infinite mana. But it also works as a nice way to, make sure people can't mess with us on our turn. Next are creatures. So the average Y'shtola deck has 6 to 7 creatures that allow you to draw cards. We're talking Talion, we're talking Esper Sentinel, we're talking Ledger Shredder, we're talking Fairy Mastermind, and a myriad of other things. And my personal favorite, Archivist of Ogma, unsung hero. These cards are imperative to keep us controlling the game. Obviously, we need card draw, so we can have more counter spells to keep ahead of everyone else so we don't fall behind and are unable to control the game. Other than that, within our creatures, we have ways to make sure we're kind of countering people before they do things, a little bit proactive, and that's kind of these hate bears. Obviously, we are running Opposition Hate. Then we've got Ranger Captain to pressure people and say we we can crack it on their turn. And then of course, we're running Bowmaster, because a lot of other people are going to be drawing cards, and I'd like to kill them when they do that. Outside of that, we have Thassa's Oracle for our normal Thoracle win con. Then we also have Valley Floodcaller that allows us to go for wins at flash speed, or at least cast things we'd like to at flash. And then my favorite spice to control the game, we have Volatile Storm Drake and Gilded Drake. I do not want to see a Thrasios across from me, and if I do, I'm taking it. No Thrasios, Pasios for you. And last but not least with creatures, we still have Grand Abolisher. Obviously you can go with Voice of Victory if you'd like that instead, but it's a way to keep us safe on our turn so we can slam things like Smothering Tithe and Rhystic Study. Next is our Sorcerers. So like we talked about earlier, Mnemonic Betrayal is a part of an A+B combo that can win games as long as they go later. But no matter what, Mnemonic Betrayal is a great card on its own, being able to pilfer through graveyards and being able to, accrue value, especially if people have had their things killed, like with an Orcish Bowmaster, stealing an Esper Sentinel, stealing another person's Bowmaster. Kind of good. Then we are running Reanimate. The reason we are running it is we are also running Entomb. I would run this package if you are running cards like Hullbreaker Horror. My list isn't, but I'm still running it for the fact that I want Displacer Kitten easily and accessible, or getting back things like Thassa's in a pinch. Speaking of getting things back in a pinch, we've got Yawgmoth's Will. I have won my games so many times by using this. I start the turn by going with whatever unprotected win I have or whatever, and then what I actually protect in the end of the day is the Yawgmoth's Will, because then it gives me access to everything that already got countered. It's a great backup win con because the win con got countered. Well, as long as it didn't get exiled. And then we have Praetor's Grasp. This is extremely flexible, allows us to get anything out of any of our opponent's deck, but obviously we are mostly going for Breach. But in a pinch, like we said, it can grab Thassa's, it can grab anything we want. Well, that they have that's not in their hand, graveyard, or exiled, or on the battlefield. And then, we got our tutors. Instant 28, baby. That's right, we got Counterspell, we got Mana Drain, we got Tail's End, we got Trick Bind, we're running Delay, We are a counter heavy deck because we are kitty cat control. Say it with me again. So the point of this is, we want to make sure the game goes longer so we can do our things and do our infinites. And to do that, we need to have counter spells that hit the table at unique angles. That's why Trick Bind's in here. That's why Tail's End is in here. And honestly, you might want to consider Wash Away, counters commanders. And then within here, we are still running Brain Freeze because we are also still trying to play the Breach on, like I said. And then we have our top deck tutor, which combined with Counterbalance end up being counter spells themselves. The other day, I played Land, Lotus Petal, Counterbalance. Then on turn 2, I passed with 2 open lands. My opponent attempted to play a Smothering Tithe on turn 2, and I tutored a Smothering Tithe to the top of my deck and triggered Counterbalance. I didn't lose that smile for a week. Other than that, we have a regular package of different kill spells, exiling spells, and then of course, overloaded Cyclonic Rift. Artifacts. So we are running Lion's Eye Diamond. Like I said, bringing it back up. We are running the Breach lines. That's why it's in here. It's basically the only reason it's in here. And then we have the Talismans, baby, because guess what? We're an Esper and we're trying to control. That means we need mana and we need pips, because we need pips, so we need the Talisman, because counter spells often cost pips. So do not cut yourselves on these. Do not touch these artifacts. They are all very important to your game plan. And the most important, the One Ring, which again can be a win con by being infinitely bounced back to your hand. Also, I just love seeing mana in my first hand. Enchantment. So we have Bloodchief's Ascension, part of the A+B combo, but again, still very good as a value engine to continue to accrue this ability to drain the table. Very important, very strong. Also comes down on turn 1. Plus, it makes people who play Ancient Tomb feel dumb. We're playing Ancient Tomb. You're not dumb for playing Ancient Tomb. It just makes you feel dumb when you play it, and this is out, and you get it. Then we have Counterbalance. Like I said before, your top deck tutors now are the pseudo counterspell in your hand whenever this is out. Great way to tilt people too. I have done it. Other than that, Rhystic, Mystic, Smothering Tithe, nothing new to see. In our lands, I added 2 things that I saw some other lists not. We got Cephalid Coliseum because we think games are going to go long and we want to be able to draw cards. And then I think something people just miss, always have Manamo when you have the One Ring. No duh. Tap the One Ring. Tap Manano's activated ability. It untaps the One Ring. You get to tap the One Ring again. You get it. Alright, on to game plan. What should you be looking for in your mulligans to play this deck? You need a minimum of 2 lands. Try to go for 3 and at least 1 mana rock. If you do not have those things, I do not suggest keeping the hand. This deck has to go long to win. There's no way for it to turbo, and if you try, it will fail. You are trying to go long, so at least keep 2 lands and a mana rock at minimum. Next, you want at least 1 counter spell, so you don't lose in a control deck. I know, shocking. And then at least 1 thing that draws you cards. That can be Esper, Mystic, Rhystic, Ogma, Talion. There's a lot, okay? You got a lot of things you could do. Just keep at least 1 thing that draws you cards. Smothering Tithe does not draw you cards. That is not a card draw. I repeat, do not keep mana, 1 counter spell, and Smothering Tithe. You will just sit there with a billion mana with nothing to do and be unable to stop the game if it loses. Just trust me, 5 cards in hand is worth way more than the mana. I've lost many games keeping a Turbo Smothering Tithe, getting a bunch of value, and then realizing I can't draw cards, I fall behind, and I eventually lose. It's a trap. So 2 lands and mana, a counter spell, and a way to draw. You're good to go from there. That means you can mull down to 5 very safely in this deck. Now, a normal game should play out you constantly setting up draw and value in. And then by turn 4 and 5, you should begin to aggressively counterspell anything that puts anyone ahead of your game plan. And that's what's interesting with this deck. You're attacking this at a unique angle. We aren't Tivit, we don't have a 1-card combo, we aren't Noctis, we don't win at flash speed, we aren't Tim Malcolm, we're not grinding like crazy. We are a full Esper control list that's leveraging the fact that no one cares about the commander to keep it out and have that extra value while draining the table. If that is not the angle you want to play CDH at, do not play this deck. I do not care how much you love cat girls, go get someone to alter your favorite commander to a cat girl anyway. Do not play Y'shtola. But if you like the idea of continuously draining the table and eventually finishing it off with one of these slower combos, you have found your deck. And for those of you who do not want to play CDH, do not worry, I have a casual list coming in the coming weeks. I am the writer of the Shuffle Up and Play soundtrack, Def Cat, and this has been my newest Y'shtola video. Thank you and subscribe.